Hello, wonderful folks. I'm Victoria, and I'm actually one of the old ones here. I see a lot of you post stories about your horrible mother-in-law, and I feel bad for you, wonderful people, to have such toxic in-laws. I had an amazing mother-in-law and always strive to be like her. So when my son Daniel introduced me to his girlfriend Melissa, I was warm and welcoming. I'm a middle-class widowed woman with no one except my son. So when Melissa joined my family, I was excited to have her in my life. Turns out she wasn't interested in having a relationship with me at all. I tried to arrange lunches and dinners with her, but she always declined, saying, "We have different tastes, Victoria. I don't think it would be a good idea for us to go out." It's okay, Melissa. I know I'm old, but I can still adapt. Maybe you can teach me a few things. It's not about your age, Victoria. It's about your class. You're just a poor old lady who's comfortable in a trashy lifestyle. I'm not so cheap as you. I'm just glad that Daniel didn't turn out to be like you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dated him. Me and my parents belong to the upper class, and I just can't mix with anyone beneath us. I hope you understand that and stop trying to be close to me. It just won't happen. To say that I was hurt would be an understatement. I was really hoping to have a good relationship with my daughter-in-law, but she thought I was beneath her. What can I say? I lost my husband at a young age and raised my son alone. I just couldn't bring myself to marry again because my husband was everything to me and still is. I moved on, but simply couldn't be with anyone else. So I remained poor while I did my best to give Daniel everything he needed. He is a great son who did make it big in the world. He's now super rich and offered to help me out multiple times. I always declined because I was content the way I was. I had no shame in admitting that I'm a middle-class woman. Still, Melissa's words stung. I never tried to ask her out again. Daniel and Melissa got married and things got worse. I noticed that she slowly started to exclude me from their lives and never invited me to their events. I was excluded from my son's promotion celebration, their anniversaries, birthdays, and other events. My son did express his disappointment with his wife and told me that he was considering separating. She had become controlling and didn't want him to keep in contact with me anymore. It was I who told him not to make rash decisions and give his wife a few chances. Well, separation was out the window soon because Melissa got pregnant with a daughter. Things didn't even change after that. She excluded me from the baby shower and gender reveal and didn't even let me meet the baby at the hospital. I never complained because I didn't want to cause trouble. For 6 years, I continued to be excluded from my own son's family. I did meet and have a great relationship with my granddaughter, but his mother started to put a stop to it too. I was at the end of my wits because she and I had a feeling Melissa was planning something drastic against me. My suspicions were confirmed when my son showed up to my house looking really down. I said, "Daniel, you don't look well. What's the matter? Is something going on?" "Mom, I just can't do this anymore. I've tried everything. I stayed for years and hoped that things would change, but things are only getting worse. Hell, I can't even talk to you without worrying about starting a fight at home." "Is Melissa creating problems again, Daniel? It's breaking my heart to see you like this. You don't have to come to see me if it means your troubles will get worse." "Mom, I need you in my life." "I don't like the way Melissa has been trying to control me, Mom. I've been unhappy in this marriage for a long time now. I never thought that she would create a divide between me and you. Hell, I even overheard her talking to her sister about how she had planned to stop you from seeing my daughter." I was pretty taken aback by Daniel's words. I won't say that I was very surprised. Melissa had been acting very strange and making excuses when I asked her to bring my granddaughter. I had even offered to come by and see them, but every time she was either busy or out of the house with them. It was already getting suspicious that she was planning something. It made me very scared that now I won't even get to see my grandkid anymore. Daniel's words confirmed my suspicions. Now I was really anxious about what Melissa had planned to do. I said, Daniel, did you confront her about this? What does she even have to say for herself? Mom, what would I even say to her? I always had a feeling that Melissa had been going behind my back to make decisions without consulting me. If I question her, she just screams at me and throws things. It just traumatizes our daughter as well. That is not okay, Daniel. Look, if you don't want your child around me, I would understand. There can be many reasons why you may feel I shouldn't be in your daughter's life. I will really respect your wishes. Mom, are you crazy? Why would I ever do that? You are the best grandma and the best mother ever. I have absolutely no reason to stop my daughter from seeing you. Hell, my daughter would be freaking devastated if her mother went through this plan. Daniel looked really stricken with grief and anger. It broke my heart to see my poor son suffering so much. He had truly made a big mistake in choosing his life partner. I wish I had warned him. I didn't want to meddle in my son's relationship, so I thought I should keep my mouth shut. I didn't protest one bit when Daniel pulled away from me because of his wife. I wanted him to be happy, even if he didn't want to stay in contact with me anymore. Had I known what a horrible situation my son was in, I would have helped him out sooner. I comforted him a little and said, Daniel, son, ignoring these problems and remaining quiet is not a solution. You are clearly miserable and need help. You need to stand up to your wife a bit, Daniel. If she loves you, she will be willing to change. Mom, that is never going to happen. I've begged her multiple times to get help. I suggested couples counseling and a host of other things. She just doesn't listen to me. I did my best, but I think it's time to cut my losses. I only see divorce as the ultimate solution. I think you should consider all aspects before you make a decision. Why don't you go home and try to talk to Melissa one last time? After that, I will support whatever decision you make. Melissa was a pretty wretched woman, but she was still Daniel's wife. Even if she doesn't like me, I would have been happy if my son was happy. But Melissa had been really toxic towards my son, which became clear to me that day. I believe everyone should be given a last chance before being punished for their actions. I hope for their child's sake that she would come to her senses and improve her behavior. My son was desperate for a change as well. So he said, I will give her one chance. I'll talk to her and lay down my terms. If she doesn't listen and tries to cut you out again, I will file for divorce. I'll talk to a lawyer and have the paperwork ready. I will only file if and when she messes up. Promise me you will let me know if that happens. I promise I will let you know, Daniel. I can see that you are extremely unhappy. I feel really bad for you. I don't want you to live like this. If Melissa doesn't improve her behavior, I'm afraid it will start to affect my granddaughter as well. That is exactly why I have been considering divorce. You asked me to give her one chance, so I'm doing that. But if she tries to act smart, I won't have any second thoughts. I agreed with Daniel because I really didn't want him to be unhappy. If Melissa continues to be uncooperative and entitled, he deserves to separate from her and live a healthy life. And I wanted my grandchild to have a healthy home life as well. So I agreed to tell Daniel in case Melissa tried to do something again. Daniel went home and talked to his wife about their problems. To no one's surprise, she blew up at him, calling him names and telling him how he was choosing his mother over her. They had a massive fight from what Daniel told me. However, this time things turned out to be a little different. Melissa saw that Daniel wasn't backing down or caving into her demands. Instead, he was adamant about standing up against her. This was a big blow to her. Daniel later told me, Melissa didn't expect me to stand my ground, Mom. I think that's part of the reason why she asked for a second chance and promised to improve herself. She even promised not to cut you off from our daughter. It sounds too good to be true in my opinion. I have this gut feeling Melissa's just lying to pacify me. I won't lie, Daniel, but I feel the same way. Still, she has asked for a chance. Give it to her. Wait and see if things get better. I'm doing that, Mom. But I'm also talking to my lawyer just in case. I will get the paperwork done. You don't know Melissa like I do, Mom. I can smell her bullshit from a mile off. She won't keep her promise to me. I just know it. The weary touch in Daniel's voice really did break my heart. For years I nursed my own wounds that were caused by Melissa and was unable to bear her behavior. I had no idea how much worse my son had it with her. She had completely broken his spirit and didn't even acknowledge her wrong straight away. Melissa was a heartless woman, and Daniel was right about her. What she did next proved his theory just right. It was about 2 weeks later that I called Melissa and told her that I was coming over. It had been a while since I had seen my grandchild, and I decided it was time I paid them a visit. I knew they were out of school for summer break and had plenty of time to hang out with me. Plus, Melissa had promised Daniel not to cut me off from my grandchild. So I didn't need her permission to see them, and she didn't bother to stop me. I thought that maybe Melissa was finally letting go of her controlling behavior and whatever anger she had towards me. Oh boy, I was dead wrong. When I rang the doorbell at my son's house, Melissa opened the door but didn't ask me to come in. She said, "What do you want, Victoria? Daniel is not home and I'm kind of busy right now." "I've come to see my grandchild. It has been a long time since I've seen them. I was missing her, so I thought I would drop by." "I don't think this is a good idea, Victoria. My daughter is not available right now. Sorry to say that you can't see her right today." I was a little taken aback to see the same version of Melissa that I saw last time. Daniel had been telling me that Melissa was acting well at home, but he didn't trust her completely. I thought he was being a little paranoid. Nope. My son was right. Melissa showed no signs of change whatsoever. Since I was already at her home, I decided to try my luck again. I said in a serious tone, "Melissa, I know my granddaughter is not at school. Her school is on its summer break, and I asked Daniel before I came here. He confirmed that my granddaughter is home." "Well, yes, she is home, but you still can't see her." "What? Why not? You have been keeping my grandchild away from me for a while now. I won't pretend that I didn't notice, but I don't understand what the problem is, Melissa. You need to tell me why I can't see my own grandchild." "Because I don't want you to see her ever again. She's my daughter, and I get to make those decisions as I please. And I've decided not to let her mingle with you anymore." "You are still not telling me why you're doing this, Melissa. This is unfair and unjust both to me and to your own daughter." "Don't you dare tell me what's right for my daughter. The reason for you not to see her anymore is simple. My child doesn't need to be around a loser like you." Melissa said this with so much venom that I found myself taking a step back due to the shock. She straight up called me a loser and told me that my granddaughter shouldn't be associated with someone like me. She made me feel small and made it seem like I wasn't even worthy of being in my own family's life. I was humiliated, but also extremely pissed off. I angrily asked Melissa, "What the hell does that mean, Melissa? Why are you calling me a loser and insulting me like this? What makes you think this is okay? You need to explain yourself." "Do I need to go into details about how unworthy you are of associating with us? You are a poor woman with no wealth or social status. We have a good reputation in this city, Victoria. Your son works in a high position at his office, and my daughter goes to the most prestigious private school here. I'm also a woman of high status. Our family is simply too above you and your trash lifestyle." If anyone had ever told me that people could be so cruel towards their own family, I wouldn't have believed them. But I was wrong about the world. People like Melissa simply didn't care about anything other than material wealth and status. Yes, I was a poor woman. I'm still a poor woman. My son had offered me a lot of things, but I had declined to take his help. I wanted him to have the best life possible without having to shoulder my responsibilities. I didn't care about my lifestyle at all. I was never interested in climbing up the social ladder and living in luxury. My simple life was good enough for me, especially since I didn't have to depend on anyone. I had no idea that would become a problem for Melissa. I had no idea that my simple life would prevent me from being in my own granddaughter's life. I was shocked and hurt. I said, What does my simple life have to do with my granddaughter? I know I can't give her much material stuff, but her dad already does that for me. She doesn't even complain when I don't bring her extravagant gifts. That's the problem, Victoria. I don't want your trash life rubbing off on my daughter in any way. It's already pretty embarrassing that everyone knows Daniel's mom is a freaking loser. If my daughter continues to have you in her life, she might end up being a loser like you. I want her to be successful like me and her father. I can't risk her becoming like you. You were being extremely shallow and unfair, Melissa. None of what you said will happen. My granddaughter needs to have her grandma in her life. You need family too, along with material wealth. She already has a set of good grandparents, Victoria. My parents are rich and come from a high-status family. Their love and influence will be perfect for my little daughter. She doesn't need you in her life, and we don't need you in our lives either. We have plenty of money and connections to have a good life. I was absolutely fuming with what Melissa said. It was at that moment I realized how messed up she was. No wonder my son was at the end of his wits. Since I didn't see Melissa much, I didn't know how shallow and superficial she could be. I was actually thanking my lucky stars that I didn't have to deal with more than I had, and it also made it clear to me how miserable my son really was living with her all the time. Everything that came out of Melissa's mouth sealed my resolve to encourage my son to divorce her. With my mind made up, I smiled at Melissa and gently told her, "I think you are a little wrong in your assumption, Melissa. My son has a lot of wealth, but from what I gather, you don't have a penny to your name right now. You are already drowning in credit card bills." "What the hell do you mean? I'm married to Daniel, so his money is my money too. I have the sole right to all his wealth. I'm his wife after all." "Well, you won't be his wife for long, Melissa. Actually, my son is going to file for divorce very soon. I hope you remember that you signed a prenup, and that prenup clearly said that you won't get anything from him in case of a divorce." Melissa looked scared for a while before she schooled her expression back to normal. She looked at me very nonchalantly as if what I was saying was far-fetched and impossible, but I could tell that she was nervous, especially because she knew that Daniel had already warned her about a divorce if she didn't behave. She looked at me dismissively and said, "You can dream on, Victoria. Daniel would never divorce me. He won't be able to be without me. I can control him well enough. Did you forget how I made him limit contact with you?" "Yes, you did throw a tantrum to make him limit contact with me. But he only agreed because I wanted him to save his marriage with you. That was actually the first time it hit Daniel. What a messed up woman you are. Over the years, all of your controlling behavior slowly made him consider divorce." "Oh, he can consider divorce all he wants, Victoria. I know for a fact that he will never go through with it. He won't destroy our perfect family and leave me destitute." "You can't believe what you want, Melissa. Don't say I didn't warn you. I will be leaving today without seeing my granddaughter because I know I will be able to see her soon. As soon as my son divorces you, I will be back in my granddaughter's life. For now, I'll let you have this last power move." I turned around to leave as Melissa went back into the house which soon wouldn't even be hers anymore. I got into my car without any regret and called my son right away. When he picked up, he already sounded weary and resigned. He said, in a troubled voice, "Let me guess, Mom. Melissa didn't allow you to see my daughter. She did exactly what she wanted to do and took no consideration of mine or our daughter's feelings." "You're right, Daniel. Apparently she didn't want her loser mother-in-law to influence her daughter to live like a poor person, so she thought cutting me off would be better and spare your family from the humiliation of having a loser grandma like me." "What the hell, Mom? She said that to you? Oh, God, what is even wrong with her? I can't believe she would say these things to my own mother. I'm so sorry you had to hear those things, Mom. I can assure you it's not true. You are the best mom and grandma ever." "I don't think I'm the best mom or grandma, Daniel. I wasn't attentive enough to know how miserable you were in your marriage. If I had known before, I wouldn't have advised you to give Melissa so many chances. I'm sorry for not being a better guardian. I guess you were right. Divorce would be a good move for you. Don't blame yourself, Mom. I was equally responsible for not telling you everything about my life and just going along with Melissa to keep the peace. That won't happen anymore. I will file for divorce today itself. I'm done being manipulated and I'm done raising my daughter in a toxic household. We both deserve better. That night, Daniel showed up at my door with his clothes and he brought my granddaughter along as well. He had filed for divorce and told Melissa about it. Apparently, Melissa had filled her shit and started to attack Daniel for leaving her. She didn't want to get a divorce and lose Daniel's money that she had been relying on. They started off having an argument until it escalated and Daniel had to call the cops on his wife. Yes, she was hitting him in front of their daughter who was crying her eyes out. My poor granddaughter was traumatized and was clutching my son because she was scared her father was hurt. What followed after that night was truly shocking. Melissa went to take her parents' help to make Daniel stay. Like I said, she didn't even have the money for a lawyer and thought her parents would be of help. Imagined her surprise when her parents closed the door in her face and told her to never contact them again. Also, she had been disinherited a while back. Now, why did her parents take such a drastic step? Well, they didn't support her entitled and abusive behavior. They were furious with her for hitting my son and traumatizing our granddaughter. Something else came out as well, which they had told us and the CPS workers. Melissa was abusing my granddaughter. She was starving her because she didn't want her to get fat. A lot of other things came out and Melissa lost custody of her daughter. I won't go into detail about their messy divorce and all the details of abuse that came out in court. I'll just say that they were able to get divorced in a year. Melissa lost custody and Daniel got my granddaughter full time. I moved in with him to help out. Both Daniel and my granddaughter are in therapy and my son actually had a protective order against Melissa for the physical abuse. Shortly before the divorce was finalized, Melissa had shown up at my door to beg me for forgiveness. She wanted my help to get her marriage and child back. Suffice it to say, I kicked her out instantly. Right now, I'm having a good life with my son and granddaughter who are happy to be rid of that horrible woman. It looks like we will be okay, while Melissa is off working at a convenience store after losing everything and becoming the poor loser she didn't want to be.